on both of yours.
So I guess we should say welcome everyone, except there is nobody watching, hopefully.
Do you want to kick us off, Bruno? Go for it.
No.
I can't see anyone here as well. Slow weekend.
Well, either nobody is interested, which I find a bit hard to believe, or our links are not working. Which is it?
No, links are working.
Let's see. Let me load the link that you shared, Sahaj. Let's see if it comes up. Although I don't want to get any echo. No, it looks like it's live.
Yep.
And it loaded muted, so that's good. Okay, let's kill that before we get some echo. All right. Well, Bruno, you want me to sort of open us up then a little bit?
Oh, yes, please.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. If there is anyone, I'm not entirely sure. I guess we'll find out. But I'm David Tischler. I am a developer program manager at Edge Impulse. And Bruno over here on my right can introduce himself in just a moment, and Sahaj is down below me, will introduce himself in just a moment. But I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of live hacking today and see what happens. Bruno, you want to say hello?
Hello. Don. No, just kidding. Bruno, I've been an ARM fanboy for quite a few years. Last year, I think I moved to the Jenkins project. I'm developer relation for Jenkins project, so I have to pamper the Jenkins developers and try to find some new developers. And while doing that, I had the right to tinker with SBCs. That's the best part of it. So I used to be very interested in IoT and edge computing, and now it's Jenkins. But of course, you can build some software for IoT and edge computing. So I'm not that far from my first love. Anyhow, thanks a lot for proposing this live session with Sahaj and yourself, David. That was a great idea for my topic. Anyhow,
now I'm done. Your idea. I'm pretty sure you proposed it. You need to take credit. No, you
proposed it. You know, I see Spider-Man saying, "You." No, it's you.
Yeah, you did it.
Thank you, Sahaj. Your turn.
Hello, I'm Sahaj, and I work at Linaro, and I've been working with SBCs for as far as I can remember. I've been programming, and that's where we are at. My life kind of revolves around ARM because of where I work, and also because of other interests. And you can see stuff booting behind me, and that happens all the time. So ignore all of that.
What just happened? What was it? What is happening behind you?
I have boxes that are under test, so they receive an update and they boot. So.
Okay, I do not have that behind me.
Neither do I. Yeah.
We were actually laughing the other day. My desk is pretty clean in comparison to, as you can see, Sahaj's. Mine is not nearly as covered in parts and equipment, which you'll see in a moment when we switch over to the board. But real quick, let's take a minute just to kind of talk through. Bruno, you mentioned this engineering challenge that was put on by OKDo and with help from Wevolver. Did you have, I think you had said you found the page. I probably have it in one of my thousands of tabs that I have open. But if you have it handy, do you want to bring it up and we can glance at it real quickly?
I think I have more than 400 pages open.
That's about what okay. If not, I can do it too.
I'm sorry. Let me see. But while you're searching, big shout out to David W, who gave me the link of the challenge because I didn't know about that challenge and I found it really interesting. And I don't know about you, David, but I was trying to get the 16 gigabyte ROG 5B. And we got the 8 gigabyte, which is fine, but I would have loved to get the 16 gigabyte, of course, but I tried to pack everything into 8 gigabyte, and that should be fine. Oh, you found it! Congrats.
Can you see my screen? I
Yes,
can't
indeed.
see. I can't see you
Amazing.
guys anymore. So
That's a nice
you
bonus.
could be making making funny faces at me, and I will not know. Let's see here. But the engineering challenge, and there's a picture of the board right there that we got. So and I got the same one as well. And it is essentially a catalyst for the community to get building, get creating interesting projects using this board. And we can talk about the board in detail in a few minutes as well. But it looks like the challenge is still open. So if you see this and you have an idea, you can get a submission still in. The first 500 qualifying entries to the challenge will be sent a rock board of your choice. So Bruno, you and I chose the Rock 5B. I think mostly because of the SoC that's on it. Maybe Sahaj or Bruno, you want to chat about that for just a split second? That
Sahaj knows way more than I about the SOC, but I've been, ARM fanboy, yes, but also Rockchip. In fact, it's a complicated relationship between the Rockchip SOCs and me because it's a love-hate relationship. I love them. When I read the specifications on the PDF, you say, "Whoa, I need that! It's amazing." I've spent so many hours with the RK3399, for example, because I knew it was able to encode H.264 up to 4K, I think, or Full HD at worst. And I never ever managed to do it. It takes so much time to mainline the SOCs into Linux kernel that when it becomes usable, it's 5 years after when you just abandon the project. But that's okay. Maybe it will be faster this time with this SOC. Sahaj.
My main take is that this can allocate, like, at least on the board that they sell, like 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, like, we've been stuck with that 4 gigabytes for way too long. Like 4 gigabyte has been the max, and now we are suddenly seeing these boards that are capable of doing 16 and theoretically 32, because now the socks can actually support it. Cost is another thing, but for a build platform, these are fast-ish chips. If we compare it to something that we just need to sit around and build, Linux kernel is fine. Maybe not something larger, but all that extra RAM really helps. And yeah, that's my main takeaway with the new Rock 5B or anything based on the RK3588 platform. Just we have enough RAM now to do some actual development on the device.
Awesome. All right. Well, so that takes us through a quick explanation of how we arrived at acquiring these boards. My submission specifically was an investigation into what it will take to run Edge Impulse on this board. That SoC on it has an NPU. I haven't yet explored what it'll take to run accelerated inferencing on it, but we'll try to do a little live hacking today and see if we can at least get the CPU-based inferencing working. I'm not too terribly confident in the AI model that I have built, but that is not the fault of the board. That is the fault of the user and the data collection that was done. So we'll see how that plays out. But do you want to talk, Bruno, about what then your submission? I mean, you had mentioned Jenkins. What was it that you were going to look to achieve with the board?
Yeah. In fact, when I joined the Jenkins project, they were interested in my previous experiments with GitLab CI, in fact, because I used to work for a company where we had 500 mobile app developers, and we had set up something to help them build their Android and iOS apps, so with GitLab CI, and they wanted me to try it with Jenkins. So I more or less succeeded in doing something similar, at least for Android. And my proposal for the challenge was to do that with an Arch64 machine and all combined. In fact, in Jenkins, like in GitLab and maybe with GitHub, you have the concept of runners or agents. You've got the brain, which is a controller, and then you've got little machines or even big machines running the jobs, doing the compilation and so on. And most of the time, you have got one machine with a controller and several machines with agents. You can have some Windows machine, Linux machine, macOS machine, whatever, depending on the project you have to build. And so for Android, most of the time, I'm using Linux machines with Docker on top of that. I'm building just a big Docker image specialized in doing Android tasks. And it can run on macOS, Linux, Windows, whatever. But most of the time, it's Linux. But it's almost easy to do that, to run that on x86 64, because that's the main platform when you want to develop for Android. The Android Studio and so on were available, first of all, for the x86 64. But since we got the Apple M1, M2, and so on, and that lots of mobile app developers use Mac machines, Google had to supply version of their tools for Arch64. Before that, people could use Rosetta, I think that's the name, something that was translating x86 into ARM. But now, since version 3100 of the Android build tools, you can build on Arch64. So my proposal was to build an Android application on this board, thanks to Docker Compose, with the controller, the Jenkins controller, and several agents, all running on the same machine, because it has 8 GB, and that should be plenty enough to run all of that. And natively, not while translating the code, the x86 64 code into Arch64. So I'd like to run natively Arch64 Docker images on this board, and I think that could work. At least that's the goal.
Sounds like me. I think it will work. At least the goal is to get Edge Impulse running on it and use it as an inferencing platform. But we'll see. But that's part of the fun, right? And that's why OKDo and Wevolver and I see RS was probably the one who did the distribution of the boards and handled the fulfillment. That's part of why they put these boards out into the community for developers to hack on and enable new innovation and developers to follow in our footsteps, come along and build something even better than us. So, Bruno, is your board on your desk and actually it's in your hand?
It is in my hands.
It is in your hand.
Not powered yet.
Not powered
but
yet.
I could do it live. Why not? So I've unboxed it, installed Ambient, but a client version. So there is nothing outputting on the HDMI. Most of the time when you have Ambient, even for a client or server, there is something on the HDMI. But this time, not for me. So I won't be able to share what the... how is it? A frame buffer should display? Whatever. But anyhow, it works with SSH, so I could share, for example, my screen with terminal, whatever. So I've installed Ambient, I've installed Docker without any problem, and for the time being, my Jenkins controller and so on don't work with Docker Compose yet. But I'll have a few weeks to sort it out.
You'll get there. Yep.
Yeah, of course, one of these days.
So you should be able to see my desk here, and as you can tell, as mentioned, it is cleaner than Sahaj's. You can actually see some of the desk here, unlike his. So I have also downloaded Armbian. It is on this SD card, and we can watch the boot up process. You can... the board is produced by, let me make sure I pronounce this correctly, Radza? Is that how you would pronounce
no
it?
idea.
R-A-D-X-A?
I would say Radza in French, but Sahaj, how would you pronounce that?
How would you pronounce it?
I do a weird thing and add an extra A. Radaxa.
Radaxa? No, there's no A in there. It's Radza. And they're a great team. I believe out of Shenzhen. They do provide their own Debian-based OS download as well. I did download it, flash it to an SD card, and boot it up. It worked fine. It looked like a normal Debian installation. I know they also provide Android and Ubuntu images. I just have more experience using Armbian, so that's what I went for as well. But they do provide images that you can use. But let's see here. Go ahead, Bruno. What are you going to say?
Yeah, by the way, big shout out to Armbian for software that's supplying to tinkerers like us. And they are currently trying to get some money to loan some servers to build Armbian. So if ever you have some pocket money you don't know what to do with, you can help Armbian.
Yeah, I did actually just see that yesterday as well. Let's see here.
Yeah, but just want to rent. It would be too costly, I guess, to buy the servers. It's ARM, R64, of course, servers. But Armbian used to be built on x86 64, I think. So I guess that's the HDMI output of your board, David.
I am hoping that it is.
It looks like it.
Hey, all right. This, I just flashed this SD card 20 minutes ago. Wait, how long have we been live? 30 minutes ago? So this will be a first boot. So you can take a look at the boot process.
Why does it look like it's booting Windows?
They went with the spinning dots. I don't know. And also, now that I'm using QuickTime as well, am I echoing, or can you still hear me okay?
I can still hear you okay.
Okay, good. So we haven't entered robot inception yet. This is first boot, so this one will take a little bit longer. Subsequent boots are much faster, of course.
Yes, I think it's resizing the partition or something.
Yep.
How big is the SD card?
This is a 128 gig SD card. Yeah, which is probably much larger than I need, but we can wait. While it's doing this, uh-oh, we have stopped. Nope, we're back. There we go. Running its first script. Yeah, so yeah, it's going to go through a one-time first boot setup process. There we go. Create a root password. So we are into the account creation. Let's just add something here. And I will set my default shell to bash. Set a user account. I'm not sure I can increase the text size on this. Can you see it okay?
Yes, but I've got a big screen. I don't know for others.
Yeah. Let's connect to Wi-Fi. I have a little USB Wi-Fi dongle right
me too.
Here. It does not have onboard Wi-Fi. It does have a nice fast 2.5G Ethernet, but I don't have an Ethernet cable that'll reach where I am. So we will connect.
In fact, I bought a generic USB Wi-Fi thingy, and I took the reference of the chip on the Friendly Elec NanoPi R5S wiki, I think. They recommended a few chips, and this one is supposed to work out of the box for lots of distros. And it did work for Ubuntu on the R5S, on Armbian on R5S, and it worked out of the box for me with Raxa.
Yeah, I am not entirely sure what generic brand this cheap USB Wi-Fi adapter was that I got on Amazon for probably $5 or $10.
Yeah, I bought one for $8 or so, but It works.
So yeah, the drivers for this fortunately were included, yeah, because it did work out of the box. And you can see, actually, this is interesting. So it picked up my default time zone, which is Phoenix. I don't know if we mentioned in the beginning of the stream, I'm coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. Bruno, where are you coming to us live from?
I'm from the very northern part of France, just next to the Belgian border, so I'm in Europe.
Okay, and Sahaj, how about you?
Delhi, India.
India.
Which is
So,
crazy
yeah.
because it's already 6:30 p.m. in France, so in Delhi it must be tomorrow, maybe?
It is 11
it's 11.
p.m.
Mhm.
I am in the fortunate position that we do not change clocks here in Phoenix. We don't
Really?
change our. Nope, we do not change our
How
clocks.
lucky you are!
Yes,
Oh.
exactly. So the only problem with that is that I spend 6 months out of the year on Pacific time and 6 months out of the year on Mountain time. But I know that Sahaj doesn't change his clock either. So he's always 12 and a half in front of me. So I just look at the clock and add 30 minutes.
Okay.
Simple as
Good
that.
to know.
So that's how I knew it was 11 p.m. there. I look at the time, add 30 minutes.
Cool.
So, all right. So it looks like we have reached a desktop. And I have also a USB keyboard and mouse hooked up. And we've got a pretty standard looking Ubuntu-based rootfs with GNOME installed. Looks pretty normal. Message. Let's see. Oops.
Try with
I'm
an N,
typing.
yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm
you're
typing on this little miniature keyboard.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Why not through? Oh, no. I was about to say SSH, but no.
Because I'm hooked up straight to it.
Yeah.
This is the HDMI output coming
You're right.
across. So we've got USB. Oh, software updates are ready. Well, you know what? We can deal with that later. Let's look at.
Oh, hey, we've got a viewer at least. A13 is telling me via Discord, I'm listening to you. And as a pic to prove it, so kind of yours.
Hey,
A13, we love you.
hello, A13. Hello. So we've got 8 gigs, more or less, that's showing us 7,690. There could be some that's being reserved somewhere, but that's an 8 gig board. Used 617 megs, about 6 gigs free. That's more important for your world, Bruno.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah.
And looks like we used 5.1 gigs on the SD card. Now you can also boot from eMMC or an NVMe SSD if you have those. I do not. Bruno, did you pick up any faster onboard storage for yours?
I have one which is not plugged in, unfortunately. It's still in its box, but yes, I've got 1 terabyte of SSD in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but yeah, I have to do it. So many things to do, so little time. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you have the booted board. Bruno, do you want to bring yours up as well? I'm going to have to think about what it's going to take to even run Edge Impulse now. I got to think about what this is going to entail. I need a minute to do some thinking.
Okay, let me try to find how to share my screen.
You know what?
Add a screen
That's
share. Okay.
I might have to kill. Let me kill mine.
No.
The other thing to discuss, and this is really Sahaj's wheelhouse, is when I ran uname, we saw that there's a 5.10 kernel that was running. And Sahaj, I know you're much better with mainline U-boot, mainline kernel. So if you want to have a few minutes to discuss what that would entail, That could also be helpful. Although, wait, I see Bruno's screen. He got his turned on. It was in your hand a moment ago. It does boot.
Yeah, it does boot. I also have a 128 gigabyte SD card, and which happens to be pretty fast. In fact, I was really impressed when I first started this board. Yeah, it's fast. It's really fast. I love it, and I was even amazed when I logged in the first time, saying that I can't be this. It can't be this board. I must have the IP wrong. But no, it was this board already running. Wow. Anyhow, so yeah, the thing is, it's still running 5.10 point something. I tried. I think there is an Armbian version which is community supported, which is 6 dot something, but it never worked for me. So I'm stuck with that old kernel. So Sahaj, do you have anything to add about mainlining and why we are still stuck with an old kernel?
Well, it's that's the work Leonardo does.
That's why we knew you'd be the expert.
So yeah, Rockchip doesn't upstream that actively as actively folks might want. So sometimes if there's a vendor requirement, like if Google's using Rockchip's chip in one of their Chromebooks and Google requires upstreaming, then they'll do it. Otherwise, it's quite slow, and it ends up being that a lot of community folks just donate their time in doing the upstream work, and that always takes a whole lot of time. With someone like Rockchip, it's easier because they have some amount of documentation, but with a lot of other vendors, it's a bit more painful. So it just makes sense. Upstreaming kind of ensures that your platform supported for a very long time, has everything working properly. Nothing will sort of go out of sync with the rest of the Linux world. You're not doing things your own way, and then you have to only have your own. Like I've seen situations where even the I2C driver was completely custom on the user space side because the kernel was not upstreamed. So yeah, it's just about getting things working and getting things working properly. Probably like maybe 6 dot some X, whatever is going right now for, I think, has support for this board, has proper support for this board, but then you need to build that, you need to update U-boot, and then there's the Rockchip usually has this SPL bootloader, the initial stages. Sometimes it needs updates, sometimes it doesn't. So it's a bit of a it's a bit of a game that you need to figure out unless someone does the work and properly documents everything. Once everything's in place, you'd see folks like Ambien and Fedora take all of that in and then produce distros that will like always work in a very generic way. But right now you're just having to use like a non-generic board-specific thing that might not play well with other user space apps.
Okay.
Or PCIe.
Yeah. There is, like well, I don't know if it was you, Bruno, that mentioned it, or it was Sahaj, but if you go through the build steps using the Armbian build tooling, as opposed to the ready-made images, if you go through the build steps, you can build, I want to say it was a 6.1 or 6.2 mainline kernel. And at the end of the build process, which takes time, of course, to go through the compilations and image creation and everything that that is done for you when you just download an image. But if you go through that process, I tried this a few weeks back, you come away with a mainline, like I said, I want to say it was 6.1 or 6.2 release candidate, and it did boot up for me. So Bruno, you must have tried yours a bit earlier in the development cycle, if yours didn't boot, because mine did. And so I did not go through the full testing of what features worked or did not. I really just wanted to see if it would boot, and it did come up. So it's certainly a work in progress that's getting there.
Of course, yes. What I tried was a nightly build and not somebody that built it. So yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yep.
It depends. While you're preparing your demo, I just wanted to show quickly what I'm aiming for. So
Yep.
if you can see my screen, this is the project which is actually working on the laptop I'm streaming from. And it's just a simple Android application built via Jenkins. And it's already working with Docker. So it's a Windows machine, but I've got, how would I say that? Container. Yeah. Oh, difficult tonight. So Jenkins controller in a container. I've got an Android agent. So it's something that is specific to building Android application agent on the container. I've got a standard Jenkins agent who knows nothing about Jenkins, just in case, because all the steps are not linked to Jenkins, and a GCP which is not started. And I also have Android device farm, which is also a container. So that's something to which you should link real devices like a phone, for example, and that could lend it to your pipeline so that you can test your application once it's built. And then I go up to supplying a release via GitHub. So this project is on GitHub, it's open source, it's free, and I can push a release. And then I even go up to pushing to the Google Play Store. So it's a complete thing. You change something in the source code, you commit, you push, and then bam, all the pipeline is launched. And in the end, you've got a release, if everything went fine, in GitHub or Google Play Store. Of course, there is a lot of red because it's a demo effect. I've been having some trouble with my emulator. Yes, because I also have an emulator. I don't have a real phone connected to all that. So I have lots of containers, lots of different containers, 6 or 7, I think, to emulate the whole Jenkins instance. And that's what I want to reproduce with my board. And the problem I have for the time being is that lots of these containers are specific to x86-64 for the time being. So I have to convert them, create new images and so on, so that there is no more translation from x86-64 to ARCH-64. But anyhow, even on x86-64, the tests don't work these days. I think it's just because of a key missing somewhere, but I will sort it out. Just wanted to show you, it's not very visual. You even don't know this is an Android application, but I can tell you it is for sure. And if you click on GitHub, I'm not on the right window. There we go. It should show us my GitHub repo where I have my Android app source code, and where I also have the definition of my Jenkins pipeline. So that's just what I want to reproduce on this board, and I'm done with that. Are you ready, David?
Not even remotely close.
Ouch!
So, thanks, but can you talk for another, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes? Let me bring up my screen share.
Okay.
And show you where I am at.
So while you're sharing, I will just show 2 other boards which are also made by Radxa, whatever. So focus is not that good, but yeah, you can see them. So this one is a Radxa S, I think. It's a 512 megabytes RAM machine. And then I bought this one, which is way more powerful. I think it's a 4 gigabyte board, or 8 gigabyte? No, 4 gigabyte. And it's a 0. It's a pretty nice board in the form factor of a Raspberry Pi W, more or less.
Nice.
I didn't try any hat to see if it was compatible, but I think it is. And the goal is to have these machines run Android, and instead of using an emulator on the ROG 5B, I will just link them through USB to the machine so that it can be used for testing the application.
Awesome. So what I am doing is going through the Edge Impulse installation steps I'm actually borrowing straight from the Raspberry Pi documentation. More or less, this is a simple AArch64 single board computer. I think, and we'll find out, that these steps should be generic enough for us to get Edge Impulse up and running, just using the same documentation. Now, in due time, exactly like you've been talking about, Bruno, what I will do is create a version of this documentation page specific for the Rock 5B. If all of this works out of the box as is, it might be a very simple copy paste. But
No,
we'll,
that could happen. Yeah,
yeah,
a good thing to have.
we'll
yeah.
see. I suppose the Raspberry Pi OS image
That
to an
part won't
SD
work.
card is not going to work too well. But
Mhm.
so there'll be a few tweaks, but that's fine.
I know
but then,
you already answered my question, but privately, this board has an NPU. I don't have the numbers in my head, the tops
Yes.
and so on. But 3 years ago, I was thrilled to have an Orange Pi. What was it? 4B, I think, which happened to have an NPU. And I had a trainee at the time, and I wanted to use the board to make a speech to text. Say, I've got an NPU, I've got models. Let's go. It's not as simple as that, and especially when
No.
you don't have easily the SDK, which allows you to use the integrated NPU. So I don't know about this one, but I think we don't have the SDK available yet.
Correct. We do not have the needed bits. Well, I mean, I do not have the needed bits. They may be floating around out there. I'm not sure if Rockchip has released them, produced them. I don't know. I did look on the Radza forums. There are a few folks on there that have begun to experiment with the NPU using some GitHub repos that are floating around from Rockchip that on device you clone on the Rock 5, you clone the GitHub repos, go through some build steps, set a few variables, and can come away with functional Rockchip provided demos. They're using demos. They're using some RKNN. What is the an RKNNP? No, RKCNN? I cannot remember off the top of my head, but there is some. There are some now. Just within the past week, a few people have begun to explore loading models onto the NPU. That is in the specific Rockchip format, and using their
that's the first
that's the first step. So we'll see how that progresses in the coming weeks, months, and see if we can get to a point where I can maybe in some fashion hack together some support. Like you mentioned, I'll probably need the SDK. We'll see how that plays out. For today, I think I know we'll only attempt regular, just CPU.
CPU based.
CPU based.
And years ago, you even had to stick with an old version of Ubuntu, now dated one, like 14 something or 16 something. And if it compiles, or even if the demos work with Armbian, that would be a good step.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I noticed in those GitHub repos that people were linking to and referring to is that they have there's a second repo that does some sort of conversion from TensorFlow and ONNX and Caffe and PyTorch into this specific proprietary RKCNN format. So they're doing some sort of a conversion. I'll go do some exploration and see what that entails. Perhaps I can simply, we'll see, export the model from Edge Impulse in TensorFlow Lite, which I'm not entirely sure is going to be supported, but I might be able to hack together and then use their Rockchip tooling to run the model.
Yeah, so only 7 translation from your model.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that should work. Why not?
Yeah, nothing could go wrong with that plan. But we'll see. So in the meantime, though, what I've been doing, if you can still see, I hope you can still see, the very first steps from the Raspberry Pi instructions are bringing in the tooling. So first we need Node.js. So grabbed that already. Then we went through and grabbed GCC, Make, Build Essential, a few other GStreamer utilities. And now we are running the Edge Impulse, looks like it just finished, runtime. So looks like we've got it.
A few years earlier, it would have been difficult. I remember having nightmares with Node.js on R64.
Yeah.
It just did not work. It was painful to compile and so on. And now it works. Just install and just install. That's amazing. What a progress.
Let me think about this. If I do the runner, let's see what happens.
Now everybody has your email address. That's cool.
I hope that everybody emails me. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I don't
and
mind.
This one was difficult to guess. I would never have guessed
I mean, how could you have? But that's okay. I mean, I want people to reach out to me with these kinds of questions. Yes, there's my email address. Have at it. This could be a problem. I'm not sure I remember this. Let's see here. We'll take a few guesses. If we lock ourselves out, then I'll be asking to get unlocked. Let's see here. This might do the trick. Otherwise, I'll be asking the team for an unlock. Ooh, got me in. Woo, first try. Unbelievable. All right, we're gonna try a fun little demo, the wizard detector. So when you log in, you are brought to a prompt that says, what project do you want to connect to? It is going to download the model. I've already built this model. I will, you know what, let me switch. This is gonna take a moment anyway. Let me switch my screen share back to that browser that was on the Mac. Let me kill my, let's see here. Stop that. Come back over here.
Yeah, the system is not perfect. You can't switch. You have to stop.
Well,
or something else.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's free.
Hey, it's a great price. Sahaj isn't complaining.
No. It works even better than Discord for sharing video.
All right, so in Edge Impulse, I've already used this project in the past, and that's why it just began to download the model. But in data acquisition, I took, I don't know, a couple hundred pictures. It was not fun, but I did it.
No, what a chore.
This Harry Potter Lego man, and I drew my bounding boxes. I was 340 pictures of him. Actually, that's not entirely true. There's probably about 110 pictures of Harry and 110 pictures of Ron and 110 pictures of Hermione. Okay. But I went through the process. I then built, and there's other, there's other days for more deep dives on the guts here of the Edge Impulse Studio. But suffice to say that I went through the pipeline of creating the model that should, in theory, be able to identify and detect that Harry Potter figurine. You can see I came away with only a 72% accuracy, not the greatest. I would typically want to see more in the 90 to 95% range. but for some basic hack, fine, we'll go with it. And plus, I was getting a little tired of taking pictures of him, to be quite honest. So, and then once the model is built, I mean, I don't really need to retrain. You can, of course, click Start Training if you want to go through the process again. You can add more pictures and go through the training and come away with a better, accuracy, hopefully. You can go to Deployment, and you can choose a whole bunch of different libraries to deploy to, different boards to deploy to. I have set in this project that it is a Linux AArch64 project. So all of the MCUs are not being shown here in this firmware. Only the Renesas RZV2L and the Texas Instruments TDA4 VM are being shown. If I had chosen different models and selected that it was going to run on a microcontroller, I'd have about 10 or 15, maybe closer to 20 nowadays, different options, different targets that would be shown here for building firmware for those devices. But it knows that I'm running Linux. So, okay, so let's pop out of here and come back to the HDMI output from the board.
And the tiny keyboard.
And the tiny keyboard. Now, where did it go? Okay, that one. All right.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Failed to run. Okay, it doesn't like it.
Why?
That's a great question. Why not? It downloaded the model. It attempted to use the USB camera that is hooked up.
Oh, that was my next question.
think.
What kind of camera do you have? So
Yeah.
USB. Yeah.
Yes, a USB camera.
I don't know if we have. Yeah, do we have a connector? Oh, yes, we have connectors. Yeah. Okay.
The camera is identified. Microsoft LifeCam Cinema.
Microsoft. Oh.
Let's try it one more time. It wouldn't be a live hacking session if it worked on the first
time.
try. Yep.
Yeah.
Failed with code 1.
Wow. This is explicit, of course.
Yes.
No problem.
I can try another camera, I think. What will happen? Let's see. Let me think. What if I dip into the bag of cameras and find another and give it a try? Or what about a good old-fashioned reboot?
Oh, why not?
Let's try it.
By the way, how did you specify which camera you were supposed to use?
I did not, only because there is just one camera hooked up to the board. If there were multiple, if there were multiple devices, it would prompt you at the launch, like where it asked me for my username and my password and which project. The next question would be, which camera do you want to use?
And would it work with CSI cameras or so?
I am not sure at this point. That, I think, may depend a little bit on Armbian and its support.
I see. The way it presents the cameras.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not entirely sure. The other thing I'm wondering is simply based upon... oops, wrong keyboard and mouse.
And the thing is, I was wondering, could you just make a test without edge impulse to know if you can grab a pic from your camera?
That's what I was just gonna say. Is let's try to figure out if the camera's actually functional. Nope, no luck on rebooting. All right.
Damn.
Well, we may end in failure today, but that's
okay. So we'll have a reason
Okay.
to see us again.
yeah.
Are you trying another camera?
Yeah, let me go dig into the bag of cameras and see. I guess you're going to have to talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to have to
Be
do
like
some,
Logitech one.
some digging in the
Probably something
some
not
digging in the bin. All right. Have fun. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Dude's using Edge browser and a Microsoft camera. Now he thinks why it is.
That's not a troll. Not at all. So, Sahaj, do you have any other boards with a Rockchip RK3588?
No, I think I have a bunch with 3568.
So 68 up to 4 gigabytes of 68, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay, and I'm wondering if the 3588 is not up to 32 gigabytes.
It should be.
Yeah, I think I'm part of developer program, something. How is this company called already? PC something. What is it? I already forgot about that one. Anyhow, they produced a board. It's not a board. It's like a mini PC. It's a box. It's finished. It's not an SBC. It's a complete small PC with an RK3588. And I think you could have it with 32 gigabytes of memory. But unfortunately, I ordered 132 and got only 60 gigabytes. I have it. Oh, yeah, Station PC. That's the name.
Firefly.
It's Firefly. I never get it right.
Yeah.
It's
I've
complex
heard
for
of
me
it.
between Firefly and what is the name? I don't know. There was a Renegade Elite a few years ago, and I've got the Station P3, I think, and now I've got the Station whatever, the latest one they got with the RK3588, but it's only 16 GB. So you've got another camera, right?
Yeah, I just plugged it in.
Logitech.
You know what else I'm gonna do? Let me add in the. I'm gonna also go back to those Raspberry Pi 4 instructions real quickly and make sure. What is the command for disabling the microphone? We don't actually need the microphone. Pulse disable microphone. I think it's exactly just that, which is a dash disable hyphen microphone. But let's check. Also want to glance at the Jetson Nano instructions just to see if they're any different. Nope.
So do you have FFmpeg, by the way, on the machine or not yet?
I do not know, since I copy-pasted that.
Oh, okay. Just in case, if you ever have it, I pasted a command that is supposed to work with video for Linux, just to grab a pic from
Is there a verbose mode on it?
Oh, what? Say again?
Verbose.
Oh, a
Yeah.
verbose mode. Yeah, good idea. Hmm. Oh yes, much more verbose.
Yeah. Unless it's. Let me think.
Oh yes.
No
Good
element
idea.
video. Why are we not getting?
No element video. Why is that?
Video 0, video 1, video...
This kernel might not. Oh, there's video 0, 1, 2.
Yeah.
No element video. I mean, if there was no UVC driver, then it wouldn't get the
Wait a
webcam
second.
name.
Oh.
I wonder...
Oh, yeah. -E may have done the trick. And then you'll get the password wrong, because why not?
Yeah, see if I can remember. It's only been 10 minutes. I probably don't remember. This keyboard, I cannot type on this thing. I'm wondering if it's just a permissions error. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it will
Download
take some
again.
time.
We'll see. Maybe, maybe not. But oddly enough, let's scroll back up while it's doing that. It does see the camera, so why is it not? I wonder if it's more of a node permissions
Yeah.
thing.
And what resolution will it choose? Because there are lots of them.
Also a great question. I believe it will go to, this is a 720p camera, not a 1080. I don't
think
know
it
why.
Yeah.
selected 200 by 300. That might be an issue if it doesn't support that resolution. So if there's a way to change it to...
Where did you see 300 by 200? Where did you
Oh,
see
very
that?
early on. 300 by 320, 320 by 320.
Oh, image size. That's the that's the bounding box around Harry
Oh.
and Hermione. Part of the reason that this is taking so long to download the model is this miniature USB Wi-Fi adapter that I spent probably, like I said, no more than $10 on. It does not have one of those external antennas that you see on some of them. It's one of the little nano receivers, and I am very far away from my
Your
router.
router. Yeah.
Which is
But
downstairs on the other side of the house. If you noticed, my download speed during the apt-get installs was like only
Not crazy.
it was only in barely above 100K or whatever. That's part of the reason
Okay.
here.
Oh! You
Pseudo.
made it!
Oh, come on. Sudo. So it was a permissions issue. So that means my npm install, which should have added permissions for my user, did not. Okay.
npm.js. Bleh.
Yeah, easy enough. All right, so we are doing something, but the question is,
What is it?
what are we doing? Let's see if we can find out. Okay, let's move this screen over to here. Get you guys out of the way. Let's bring up a browser. Now, this is the browser on the device. Actually, you know what I want to do? I'm just going to restore that session. Let's see if we didn't scroll off the whole way. Did we scroll? We did not scroll the whole way. That's good, because want to see a feed of the camera and live classification. Okay, let's grab this URL if we can. Come on, mouse, come on. Miniature mouse.
Yeah.
Copy. And stop that. And
Except it won't work, yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Of course.
Wait a second. Local host :4912. Is that what our port was?
Yeah, but it's
gonna
not
work.
running anymore. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Oh, you're too smart for me,
I'm
Bruno.
so smart, yeah.
You're too smart for me. It's not running. No kidding. It's not going to work.
I should apply for a
No
position at Edge
kidding.
Impulse.
Yeah.
I think I've got the skills, yeah?
I think you've got the skills. You got to run the thing for it to actually work. Okay, now let's go refresh. And there it is. Well, it doesn't see Harry because he's not in the frame. Let's start with bringing him into the frame. It's too far away. Let's bring the camera down closer.
Oh. Okay.
It is running on CPU.
You know what, though? Hang on a second. It's...
So you have a finger which looks like Hermione, which is good to know.
Yeah. Focus. I should have used that other camera. That other one was better. This one won't do it. Come on, find him.
Yeah, it's kind of blurry. That.
Although if the other one's high resolution,
Yeah.
it would be slower.
Oh.
So now, why do we think there's 3 of them?
I don't know. Maybe of the background. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because my model is only 72% accurate because I stopped taking pictures of him. But we do actually have a slight success in that it is running and it is functional. We just think we've got more than one of him.
It's schizophrenic, maybe.
Yeah.
Now that you have this working, would you be able, with another tool from Edge Impulse, to take pics and pics and pics and pics and ameliorate the model so that you don't have to do it by hand?
Yes. Well, like everything, the answer is yes and no, actually. What I can use to really make things easier is the smartphone app.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It just runs in the browser, and what you can do is take your phone and just keep clicking. Click, 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 click. You will acquire hundreds of pictures within a matter of seconds or minutes. Now, when I go to do the bounding box and the labeling of the data set, you draw the first bounding box and save it. For each subsequent picture, it will keep the bounding box on him. So it also becomes a matter of click, 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 as opposed to drawing the bounding box on every single image. So you can snap pictures really quickly and then draw the bounding box on the first one and then continue to save and move forward quickly as well. So we actually did it. Yeah. So there you have it.
Congrats.
What are we looking at? Time per inference is what? I guess that's averaging about 80-ish milliseconds. What are we getting? Maybe 15 frames per second then? Is that about? Somebody, Sahaj, do some math for me. What's I don't know. So, not great, but it's certainly doable.
Less than 1 frame a second right now.
Less than what?
Less than 1 frame a second.
No, it's 100 milliseconds would be 10 frames per second. So it's a little over 10. It's got to be 12, 13-ish.
Oh, you're talking about frame times.
Yeah. So, down the road we can explore if I can figure out, getting a hold of the SDK for the NPU and what it'll take to port a model or integrate, and we could, see what that performance looks like. But, it's certainly possible to do inferencing and run object detection. And by the way, we're doing object detection, which is probably the heaviest weight, versus classification versus just some very simple, sensor data. If you hook up an accelerometer or something, that's nothing. You don't need this amount of power for that kind of workload. But not too bad. So I'd call today a success.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Anything else? That's everything I wanted to achieve today. Bruno, do you want to transition back into the Jenkins world? Is there anything you want to try or do?
No, I'm afraid I won't. We have to finish on a success. And
yeah. Everybody quit. Everybody hang up now.
Yeah, no, I know. It will work one of these days, but it's I'm working on the very first step. So, of course, it doesn't work yet. I have yet to make some dedicated Docker images and so on. So, no, it's not for tomorrow, but yes, we'll see some progress in the following weeks, hopefully. And so that we could do something else. And if ever you progress on your side, we could do another live, whatever. Yeah. Or even if we fail, why not?
Who cares? It's all right, too. We can fail live. No big deal.
No. Okay, so maybe that's a wrap. Sahaj, thanks a lot for hosting us on your channel.
Thank you, Sahaj, for moderating and hosting us today.
You rock, guys. So maybe see you in a few weeks from now. It was a pleasure to have you and to be on board.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.